Hey guys, Metal Viking 82 here, back with a new Viking Orations. First one of 2022, and we're going to kick things off with some Indiana metal here. And the band I want to talk to you about today is Inferno Sunn with their debut full length album, Injustice Plagues American Lives. Now, if you're not familiar with this band, which I was not until I got contacted by the guitarist through Facebook about checking this out, they are a heavy slash thrash metal band out of Indianapolis, Indiana, that formed back in 2017, featuring Adam Schafer on bass, Sam Hepfer on guitars and vocals, and Max Barber on drums, which he is actually the drummer for Lavaborn, whose album made my year-end list. So that was a really cool connection there. As I said, this is their debut full length album. It is 9 tracks and clocks in just under 37 minutes in length. And yeah, I gotta say, I really enjoyed listening to this album. It starts off with a kind of slow building dun, 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 dun type intro before kicking it into full thrash mode with fast double bass and really fast pick riffs. It kind of reminded me a little bit of a Razor. In particular, the song In Protest off of the Open Hostility album, which is definitely not a bad thing because I love Razor. The guitars on this album have a nice heavy tone to them, mixing the fast thrashy riffs with more kind of mid-paced galloping riffs, as well as some slower, more chuggy style riffs, and it's got some really nice guitar solos throughout. The bass tone throughout this album is nice and thick. It has an almost Dee Vernis of overkill type vibe to it, really audible in the mix, laying down a really solid backbone through all the songs, occasionally kind of standing out even more in the mix in various parts of the album. Solid drum production, I feel, on here with a nice snap to the snare. Lots of really good drum patterns throughout. I love the use of double bass on this album, as well as the utilization of blast beats. For example, track number 2, Dread, at the 148 mark. I just love the death growl that excuse me, that Sam does at that part as well when those come in. And speaking of Sam's vocally, he has kind of the standard thrashy shout, yet he has that kind of power trip, Riley Galish vibe, and that he's more gruff in his vocal approach and leaning more towards the death metal side of things, maybe kind of like the melodic death metal style of vocals. He does some really killer screams as well at times that morph into growls. A really good example of that is the opening track, Burn, at the 105 mark. I just absolutely thought that sounded really badass. Let's see here. And speaking of his vocals, on the title track, which is track 9 in the album, it is actually the first and only time that I noticed they use the kind of traditional thrashy gang shouts. And I also love the growl that he does at the 323 mark, and how he follows that up with a nice scream and this really heavy riff over top of it, which leads to a really nice guitar solo. Loved how that whole thing sounded. Some of the other things I picked out while listening to this album, track number 3, Solitude. I love the intro to this song with this really slow picked riff, leading to a guitar solo at the 22-second mark, accompanied by a nice slow drum pattern. Then it kind of kicks things into gear at the 112 mark with this really nasty and heavy sounding riff. It kind of actually, the whole thing reminded me a little bit of Cemetery Gates. The intro really did, especially with its kind of dreamy vibe that it had going on, especially when the vocals come in at first, and it has that kind of airy feel to it. Really well done. Track number 5, Void. This is a very dreamy and spacey sounding instrumental with the slow building guitar riff, which is mostly just guitars throughout this song. The bass does make a brief appearance at one point, but pretty much it's just a straight up slow guitar instrumental. Really kind of a nice kind of a midpoint, or like a trying to think of the word for it. I can't even think of it off the top of my head, but yeah, really cool song. Definitely you'll definitely enjoy it. Track number 6, Mindless. I love the heavy intro that this song has, and I think the bass on that song sounds especially nasty here. And finally, track number 8, Riff Salad. Love that title. Definitely a play on the Rat Salad from Black Sabbath, I would have to say. And honestly, this song here is probably the most death metal sounding song on this release, in my opinion. Has some really heavy guitar riffs on here, and I love the bass here. It just sounds especially heavy on this song, and I absolutely love that. And then it has a really interesting sounding guitar solo at the 212 mark. I mean, it's not your traditional sounding solo. It just kind of has this really interesting sound to it. Overall, I think this is definitely a really solid debut from these indie thrashers. It's well executed. The songs tackle a lot of different subjects, from corruption and politics and religion to mental issues and things of that nature. But really cool listen. Definitely makes you want to bang your head and then to hit play again once it's over, just so you can go back for more. I just find it really catchy and a very interesting listen. This is actually due out January 14th on CD and digitally. I will leave a link down below to the band's Bandcamp so you can check them out for yourself, and also pick up a copy of their first EP, which is still available. I know I actually just ordered that in a t-shirt as well, so definitely go check out Inferno Sunn. I would definitely give this a solid 9 out of 10. So yeah, go check out Inferno Sunn. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing, and until next time, stay brutal.